All right, the first question for Unit 9 missed questions is which expression is a factor of both x squared plus 5x plus 6 and x squared plus 2x minus 3. So that means you're going to have to factor both expressions to see which one has the same factor. All right, so x squared plus 5x plus 6, x times x multiplies to give you x squared, what multiplies to give you 6, either 6 and 1 or 2 and 3. Which adds up to give you 5 is 2 and 3. So 2 and 3 are my numbers. Plus and plus give me plus in both spots here. So again, you can check that. X times x is x squared. Plus 3x plus 2x gives you 5x in the middle. 2 times 3 equals 6. So you know this is correct. All right, now we got to factor the next one. X squared plus 2x minus 3. Again, x times x is x squared. That's the easy part. What multiplies to give you 3? 1 times 3, 3 is prime, so that's the only factors. So the only difference is you know that this is negative, which means you have to have 1 plus and 1 minus to get a negative when you multiply. So because the 2 is positive, that means the 3 has to be positive and minus 1, because 3 minus 1 is plus 2. All right, so check it. X times x is x squared. Plus 3x minus 1x is 2x in the middle. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. So now that we factored both completely, which expression is a factor of both? X plus 3 and x plus 3 is the one that is the factor of both. All right, the next one says for students, factor the quadratic equation, x squared minus 8x minus 48 equals 0 to find its solution. All right, the easiest way to do this is just check to see which one produces the right thing. So x times x is x squared. Minus 4x plus 12x, that gives me plus 8x. That one can't be right, so move on to the next one. X times x is x squared. Plus 4x minus 12x is negative 8x. Negative 12 times 4 is negative 48. This one is factored correctly. The solutions are going to be opposite of the factors. So x minus 12 equals 0. Add 12 to both sides gives you 12. And negative 4. So this one is going to be the correct answer. Go ahead and look. These are the same factors. So this should multiply out correctly. But instead of negative 4 and 12, they've got the zeros wrong. And this is the same factors as up here. But again, they have negative and positive. So here, these two solutions make this wrong. And the first one, the factors, make this one wrong. So the only one that is correct is J. Lee. All right, the next one says which function when graphed would include the point 481. All right, so you can graph each one of these individually. I'm only going to graph this one because I know this one's the correct answer. So 3 raised to the x power. When I hit graph, this generates a table of values. And if you go second graph, which is your table, if you come down here, you can see 481 is a point on this graph. If you check these others, this point, when you have x at 4, it will not be 81. Okay, so easy way to check that very quickly. Graph it, look at your table of values, see if the point is there. All right, so this one's saying look at the table and see which characteristics best describe the function. Basically, if you know how to graph ordered pairs, this should be very straightforward. So it says your intercepts, that means your x and y intercepts are negative 1, 0. So if you go over negative 1, 0, there is a point there. 0, 2, 0 at x, up at 2, that's your y-intercept. And then 2, 0 is your other x-intercept. So go from 0 over 1, 2, there's your other intercept. This one has a maximum between 0 and 1. So if you come here and go between 0 and 1, that is your maximum point. So you can see that is true. All right, so these have the same intercepts, but it says the maximum is between 2 and 3. That would put it over here, and that is not true. The next one says 0, negative 1. It would have a point down here at negative 1, and that is not true. And the next one has the same thing. So the intercepts are not correct. So the first one is the only one that describes the characteristics of that graph. All right, again, this one is just understanding what the graph is and looking at key characteristics. Use the graph to answer the questions. Okay, this is the graph of this function. Is f of x increasing, decreasing, or constant from -4 to x to -2? So when x is between -4 and -2, that means your domain. Here's your x. This is your x-axis. Here's -10, -5. So here's -4, 3, 2. So from -4 to -2, what is this function doing? From left to right, that function is going up, which means it is increasing. So all you have to do is understand the notation. This is saying what's happening on your x from -4 to -2, and it is increasing. All right, the next one is a piecewise function, and it says which two values are included in the domain. Again, remember, domain is your x's. Here's your x's right here. Okay, so which two values are included? -4.5. So -4.5 is here. This is a continuous line between -5 and -4, so that is included in the domain. Look at -1. There is a point there, but it's an open circle. Open means it's not included. So -1 is not included in the domain. That x is not included. All right, 0. 0 has a dot there that is solid. Remember, the solid dot means it is included, so we check that one. 1.5 is between 1 and 2. You can see there's no line at all. There's a gap between 1 and 2, so that one is not included. And if you look at 5, over here at 5, the line stops at 5 with an open circle. Again, open means it's not included. So the only two that are included are -4.5 and 0. Again, just trying to find the x's that are solid or continuous at those points. Okay, here's another one on domain. So it says a function is graphed on the coordinate plane. What is the domain of the function? What x's are included? X's go from left to right. So this function is going down, slightly out with an arrow. Arrow means continuous. To the left, it's going down to the right, slightly. It's going to keep going that direction with an arrow. So that means the domain is going to be all real numbers. So your domain for this is all real numbers. All right, the next one is what is the average rate of change from x equals 1 to x equals 3. All right, if you remember, you have to know the average rate of change. It's the same as the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the first thing I have to do is find x. Remember, that's my horizontal axis, x at 1. When x is 1, y is 10. That's my first ordered pair. I have to have an ordered pair. Then it says x equals 3. So when x is 3, my y is 40. So 40 is my next ordered pair. y2 minus y1, 40 minus 10, over 3 minus 1. 40 minus 10 is 30. 3 minus 1 is 2. 30 divided by 2 is 15. So you can see that the average rate of change on this graph is 15. So again, commit this to memory. You will need to know the average rate of change formula. All right, this has a table that shows the rainfall totals at the airport after the first month of the year. Here's the weeks, rainfall in inches. What is the average rate of change of rainfall from week 3 to week 7? So average rate of change again, the exact same thing. So again, you have to know the formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. How do I know what to look at? It says week 3 to week 7. So these are your ordered pairs, x and y, x and y. So I'm going to do y minus y over x minus x. So 4.33 minus 3.22 over 7 minus 3. Reduce that, and I get 1.11 over 4. And when I divide that, I get 0.2775. So the average rate of change of rainfall from week 3 to week 7 is 0.2775 inches per week. All right, Maya's on the dive team for Edmont High. She dives from the school's 30-foot platform. Maya's plunge into the pool is modeled by the graph. What is Maya's approximate average rate of decline between 1 second and 2.5? So again, it's saying average rate of change, okay? This time it's an approximate. That means it's going to be close. All right, so it says from 1 to 2.5. So if you look at 1, 1 goes with 25, so 125 is my first ordered pair. 2.5 is not an exact point, so let's see where it goes. This is 5, this is 10. It's like closer to 10 than it is 5, so let's say 8. So 2.5 and 8. So then I do y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So 8 minus 25 divided by 2.5 minus 1 gives me negative 17 divided by 1.5. And that, when reduced, when divided, is negative 11.3. So if I come back over here and say, what is the approximate average rate of change? Negative 5, negative 9, negative 12, negative 17. Negative 12 is obviously the closest to negative 11.3. So again, average rate of change, very important concept. All right, this one says consider two quadratic functions, f of x equals negative 3x squared plus 6x minus 9, and g of x, which we don't have the function, but we have the graph. And it says which statement is true. So when it says consider these two functions, I want to have two representations that are similar. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and graph the negative 3x squared plus 6x. So negative 3x squared plus 6x minus 9 when graphed is here. So it says which statement is true? The maximum value of f of x. Okay, this is f of x. So I've already found the maximum. All you have to do is second trace and find the maximum value here. Do left bound, right bound, and it gives you this maximum. And the maximum value comes from the y-axis. So y equals negative 6. So the maximum value of f of x, negative 6, is greater than the minimum value of g of x. The minimum value here is negative 8. Negative 6 is greater than negative 8. So that first one is true. And if you go through here and see the other ones will not be true, but just to save time, what you have to do is just graph that and then compare the two functions. Okay, this one says which point is on the graph of 3 times f of x. Remember, f of x is your y value. So let's look at the points and see which one works. So if you go to negative 4, that's not even on the graph, right? Negative 1. Negative 1 would be at negative 3. So if I take negative 3 as my, or negative 1 is my x, and I find my y, negative 3. If I multiply that by 3, I get negative 9. So you can see negative 7 is not correct. But let's check the next one. So 1, if x is 1, my f of x, so 1, my f of x is negative 3. And what is negative 3 times 3? Negative 9. So this point would be on the graph of 3 times f of x. We don't even have to check this one just to save time, but you can see that 9 would be way out here somewhere, and negative 15 would not be on there. But besides that, we don't have to look at the last point. All right, the next one says the population of a particular bacteria is said to grow exponentially. What does this mean? All right, so remember your exponential growth is this like sharp curve that gets really steep fast, or it declines really fast, okay? So exponential growth is, you're talking about like multiplication, okay? So the thing you're looking at here has to be what the wording says. So the population grows at a constant percent. So that would be true, because remember y equals a times b to the x power. That percent would be like 1 plus whatever the percent is would be the growth rate. So this percent makes this true. So it says the population grows at a constant percent before decreasing. Well, if it's growing at a constant rate, it doesn't decrease, because remember, exponential growth goes exponentially on and on. And then this one says the population grows at a constant rate. If you see constant rate, you're talking linear equations, not exponential. So these both say constant rate, so it can't be that. So it has to be the first one. All right, the big thing to remember here, consider two functions. Exponential is always going to increase faster. So that's why the first answer is correct. So 4 to the x makes this exponential. as x is greater than 2, f of x will eventually be greater. That is always true.